So I ripped on this on part 3 a lot. Let's talk about the things I do like. My favorite kill does actually use the 3D effect. Jason picks up a guy with his hands. He picks up a guy by his head, squeezes his head, crushing it, and his eye pops out towards the camera. Such a bad effect, but it's so enjoyably bad that you can't help but love it. There's a couple other good kills using the 3D. Like, there's the handstand kill where the guy's walking on his hands and then Jason, like, literally hacks him in half. Then he shoots a harpoon at one chick and the harpoon flies to the camera and hits her in the eye. So, and this is the first film where Jason finds the hockey mask, which we all know and love as the classic Jason look. So, I'm going to give Friday the 13th Part 3 a 2 out of 5, just for those kills I mentioned and the fact that he gets the hockey mask. The rest of the film is crap. But, thankfully, Part 4 picks it up a huge bunch. Part 4 is a lot better than Part 3, but still not as good as Part 2, but definitely better than Part 1 as well. This one takes place, again, not on Friday the 13th, this one takes place like a week later from the events of Part 3, where this one doesn't even take place on summer camp either. It's just like some kids rent a cabin in the woods or something like that. And Jason is presumed dead at the end of Part 3. Part 3 was originally intended to end the series, but the distributors wanted the screenwriter for Part 4 to use and quote, the best of your writing abilities to make the audience know that Jason is indisputably dead. So that's why Part 4 is called the final chapter. So Jason escapes from the morgue that he's put in after the events of Part 3, and he gets back to the woods to wreak havoc and yada yada yada. It's the same stuff, but this one does like all the things that Part 2 does right. I mean, it has a lot of fun characters again. Crispin Glover, man, I mean, Crispin Glover is the best part of this movie. Plays one of the teenagers. He's so hilarious in this movie. There's a lot of there's good nudity. This one probably has the best in the series so far. But the kills are really, I think the kills are really unique again because they got Tom Savini back to do the special effects for the kills. My favorite kill in this one is probably, I'm gonna have to say the Crispin Glover kill. Yeah, sorry, spoilers. Crispin Glover kill. He has his hand on the counter, he gets a corkscrew shoved in his hand, and then he's stuck there, and then Jason takes a cleaver to his face. I mean, I loved Crispin Glover, sad to see him go, but, you know, it's Friday the 13th movie, you know he had to go at some point. But everyone always says how good the makeup effects look on Jason in this movie. But I think the makeup effects in Part 2 just blew it out of the water. But again, that's my opinion. I thought Sackhead Jason was creepier. That's another thing. Jason is definitely a lot more clever in this film. He's a lot quicker. In fact, the stunt guy who plays Jason said that he wanted to make Jason a lot quicker. So the characters are more likable. The kills are better from Part 3. It's an overall better experience than Part 3 was. So I'm gonna give Part 4 a 4 out of 5. I mean, that seems fitting. Part 4 gets 4. So let's move on to Part 5, A New Beginning, as it's called. This one, I'm gonna spoil it right out of the bat, does not have Jason in it. And I honestly think if they really felt they needed to make another Friday the 13th movie, this is the direction the series should have gone in. So Tommy Jarvis. Is it Jarvis? Yeah, I think, well, Tommy. Yeah, it's Tommy. The Corey Feldman kid in Part 4 is now grown up. He's mentally traumatized from killing Jason in Part 4, and so he's sent to, like, basically, like, I don't know, like a halfway house or something like that. Basically, they take all these troubled kids and take care of them. But all these killings start happening, happening, and so the guy is wearing a hockey mask, so they all assume that Jason, at least Tommy, assumes that Jason is back, but he's not. And I'm going to spoil this right here and now. It's a copycat killer, and I really feel this is the best direction the series should have gone in. Um, uh, my favorite kill in this one is probably have to go with the outhouse kill for the guy who looks like the Michael Jackson kind of wannabe guy. Gets killed in an outhouse, gets a spear straight through him. That was a pretty good kill. There's a huge body count in this film. I mean, holy crap, there's a big body count. But so I'm gonna go straight to the end of this movie. After they discover that this wasn't Jason, it was a copycat killer. Tommy is in the hospital, and you find out that he managed to get the hockey mask that the copycat killer was wearing. And at the end of the movie, the leading lady comes in to check on him, and you see him put on the hockey mask and and he's about to stab her, but the film ends before he can. This is the direction the series should have gone in. Tommy should have became the new Jason. Unfortunately, once again, I'm one of the only people that thinks this was the most logical way to go. I seem to also be one of the only people that like this movie in general. I just thought it had good nudity again. I thought it was actually a really clever concept for a Friday the 13th movie, at least. So I thought it definitely a lot better than Part 3. I mean, Part 3 seems to be like a unanimous decision on being great, but I don't know. I think this one definitely blows Part 3 out of the water. So I'm going to give Part 5 a 4, just like Part 4. I'm going to give Part 5 a 4 also. But now we get to Part 6, which is Jason Lives. And we have a really big body count, but we actually have, I think it's like 3 main teenagers that follow, and Tommy. Tommy's back. That's my biggest problem with this movie. Tommy returns from the first one, but there's no mention of him almost becoming Jason. And he's so much different from Part 5. He's like talking full sentences. He's a lot more energetic and outgoing. In Part 5, he was really sullen. He only spoke like a little over 20 words. 20 words throughout the whole film. But this one, he's just like, he's the star of the whole movie. So they completely missed the whole mythology of Tommy's character. So what's the plot? Again, people are opening up Camp Crystal Lake, only this time, when Tommy goes to destroy Jason's remains, the corpse is struck by bolts of lightning, and Jason is brought back to life, and he's now going to be the zombie killer that we know him as for the rest of the film franchise. My favorite kill in this one is probably the head through the RV wall. I mean, that's just, it's so ridiculous, it's funny. Either that or probably the smiley face one in the woods. But this one is it's almost insultingly dumb after Part 5. It's like Part 5 had some good potential for a unique series, but they had to abandon it because Jason is the only one Jason is the moneymaker, basically. I guess I shouldn't really judge the film on its merits like this, because Jason is the moneymaker, so they had to bring him back eventually. But it's like the characters are really flat again. There really isn't anything too interesting about this movie. So I'm going to have to give this one a 2.5 out of 5. It's not really that good. So those are my thoughts on the first six Friday the 13th movies. More Flamingo Halloween is on the way.